I think we just need to jump straight into making it maths here, right? So what we're heading into now is just some correlation. So for our correlation, it's how well does our line fit the data. So if we had a whole lot of dots here, and let's get rid of that thing, and perhaps I need to move out the way here. So if we got up here, we got a whole lot of data and a whole lot of dots, and our line fits so nice and perfectly on top. There it is, dot, 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 and our line goes straight on top. Well, then that's a very good fit, right? It's a good correlation. So in this case, R would equal 1 if it fitted perfectly, which obviously, what are the chances of that happening in the real world? But, if you're really, really close to 1, then you're doing, that's perfect. Now, if you're close to 1, then it's strong. So here our recommendation is, if we're between 0,8 and 1, well, then we're doing quite well. So there are all our dots. And then if we drew our line, our line, and that's pretty good going. Now, if we're between 0.5 and 0.8, then there's our line over there, and it's doing a sort of okay job, right? They're the dots, and it's close-ish. But if we're between 0 and 0.5, now look how wonky things are looking. Here, all our dots here. And our line of best fit is close, but it's not great. So we'd call that weak. That's pretty terrible, actually, if our line is over there. And finally, if R equals 0, well, then you just got a whole lot of dots over here. So, you could have drawn your line pretty much anywhere. It doesn't fit any of those dots. So that would be if R equals 0. And the same thing happens just in the negative direction. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom and go, well, if R is -1, then it just means we've got a negative straight line. The dots are going in a negative direction. Maybe you sold fewer and fewer books every month, but it fitted perfectly. And, just the same things in reverse. So let's say it's fairly close, then between -1 and -0,8. So same idea as the positives, just in the negatives all the way to, something like -0,5 means it's a -1, and it's pretty weak. That line doesn't describe this data that well at all. So let's see what that means in an example. So here we get given a table, and I've given you the scatter plot over here, so you don't have to draw it, and you can see it and just think, okay, so looking at that line and these data points here, it seems to fit them fairly well. Just looking at it intuitively, thinking, oh, well, that seems to fit fairly well. So let's try and put a number to this and see what it is. So here's our data set, and really the key here is how do we use our calculator to help us find this. So I'm going to go, let's load this up. I guess it would be, you don't need to see that. There we go, the calculator. So we've got, that'll work fine. So we've got shift stat. I'm going to go 2 to the data. You can either clear it all, or if you just press delete, you can see you get rid of everything, and it's not too slow. So let's put our data in here, and we've got, no, I'll do this. Okay, so we've got 2, 4 as our first one, and then so we can go 2, 0,8, 1, 1. This is what you did in the first exercise. 1, 6, 0,7, 0,3, and 1, 4 is our last one. Okay, and then on the y side of things, our first one here is 38 and 82, 174, 171, 89, 159, 206, and our last one I think is 129. Okay, it's hiding behind the table here, so it's hiding behind there as well, so all of those. Okay, so let's put that calculator back in place. So now if we press AC, we're ready to go with stats, And to see this, we go Shift 1, because that's where all our beloved stat stuff is. REG is our regression stuff to do with this line. So if we go in there, you can see number 3 is R, and R is the correlation coefficient. As we put here, R is what we saw in the previous ones, and R is going to tell us how well does this straight line fit those dots in the data. So R is 3, we press equals, and it tells us minus 0,967,997, and let's round off over there. But you do need to round off to quite a few decimal places, because you don't want to round this off to -1, implying it's perfect. But you might give quite a few decimal places, or might just put ... It carries on for a while. So interpreting that seems to fit pretty well. I mean, that's very close to -1. So remember, if we're close to -1, that's a perfect negative fit. If you're close to 1, then it's a perfect positive fit. And so it gets worse in between there, where 0 is terrible. That's just dots everywhere. So that's that. Right. I used to be slick on this thing, right? But we're getting there. So that's that. All you have to do is punch in the data and see what your value of R is. But what you're thinking in the background the whole time, which is why we've got this visual, is how close is your straight line matching up with the data points, the dots you were given. So in this case, this straight line seems to match this data very well. So we've got an R value of -0,967997. Now, to get this out of the way, this doesn't really make too much sense with so few data points. You should have lots more, but let's not spend all day punching this into our calculator where you've got 1,000 points. So it seems to match really well, but we've got very few data points, so pinch of salt. So that's that. You got some few exercises to do. It's really just, punch it into the calculator, answers are at the end there, and of course, what you need to do is to make it maths.